Kenneth Ashigbey, I don't know if you have some brief comments to make about this before you go to the joint statement you issued with Occupy Ghana on the need for a clear prohibition of mining in forest reserves. And the Catholic Bishops' Conference also ended their conference and have issued a statement in which they support your call and say mining in forest reserves must be banned completely. Dr. Kenneth Ashigbey.
Well, thank you very much, Samson. I'm not too sure I need to add anything more to what Kofi has said. You know, the challenge we have in this country is that it is the contraption we call parliament and we call our political elite. You know, they self-perpetuate themselves. So they would not pass this thing ordinarily, and maybe the IMF might force them to do it, but we need to keep the pressure on them because this is about they themselves being transparent. And if you look at it, the 1992 political experiment has only benefited the political elite. And I think you make that, I think it was Kofi that made that point about people who we see, start off from school, just out of school and get into politics with nothing. And in no time, they are making all the money. And it's just because of the lack of transparency. So it is really important that this happens.
Okay.
And at the back of all of this that we are having, the conversation about illegal mining, is the fact that a lot of the politically exposed people themselves are benefiting from this illegality that is killing all of us. And to think that we have a law that is called the Environmental Protection Regulation, and then into brackets, we put in that mining in forest reserve. You know, how paradoxical can it be again? You know, and so it is so important that we ask Parliament, this law, this LI, and I'm sure the parliamentarians will tell us that when LIs come, they don't scrutinize it as much as they ought to do, and it's just put in there, you will need 2/3 majority. But which of the minority in Parliament told us that this LI has been submitted to them in November last year, for all of us to see that this thing has been done, only for us, to be surprised about the fact that it was passed and it's been gazetted and now it is currently done. And then on the back of that, you have High Street Ghana Limited then applying to, to go and mine in the Kakum Forest Reserve. And so it is, and not only is the Kakum Forest Reserve the one that has been desecrated and really been bastardized. But you know that the works that Erastus has done, the Apraprama Forest Reserve, you had a situation where a camp, CSK Alaska, Heritage Imperial would go in there. I think there was one company first, unique something that Heritage Imperial are directors of. They go in there and go and get reclamation license. The first one gets it, the second one goes for reclamation license for the same thing, and then they go for prospecting license. And with that prospecting license, they go mining in that forest reserve, which is an illegality. They even have the guts to go to court. And when they are prosecuting, bringing a case against Erastus, they talk about their mining operation. When the EPA tells us that they don't have a permit to do mining, and these people, nothing is happening to them. We have another forest reserve, the Tano Nimri Forest Reserve, and then you have the MPP's Ashanti Regional Chairperson as one of the directors of Akonta Mining, who are engaged in this illegality. The minister calls them out, the Minerals Commission calls them out, and nothing has happened to them, even with all the petitions that we have done. You go into the Kokosua Forest Reserve in Seshi Dabias. As we speak now, there are people in that forest reserve, desecrating it. The Upper Wasa Forest Reserve, it's almost half of it is gone. The Subim Forest Reserve in Bekwai has been dealt with. Tiwa Forest Reserve, there are people currently in there mining. So even without this LI that had come in place, you have people getting into the forest reserves and mining them. So it is really important that we step back, not only repeal this law, not only ensure that the president does not even have the power, like they did with the Achimota Forest, where then they can declare that a forest reserve is no more forest reserve. We need to ensure that there's a law, a fiat in place that says that mining in a forest reserve a no-no.
Dr. Kenneth Ashigbey, is that not too much? Because like you, media coalition against Galamsey, Occupy Ghana, and now joined by the Catholic bishops, you are saying, and the Catholic bishops, their statement, let me just read this paragraph for you. They say, we are also concerned about the introduction of the Environmental Protection Mining in Forest Reserves Regulation 2022, LI 2462, which seemingly allow mining even in globally significant biodiversity areas. We urge the government to take a critical look at this LI and, as a matter of urgency, either amend or repeal it in order to forestall the alarming trend of ecological destruction in the country. Now, they talk about Galamsey before they come because we have lost the fight. Is it not what you should be asking, rather, that the laws that allow mining in forest reserve should be enforced in such a way that there can be responsible mining, and not to say a complete repeal, there should be a complete ban on mining in forest reserves?
So, Samson, let's go back again and look at, and you see, so speaking as wear my hat as an engineer, it is important to do a total cost benefit of mining in forest reserves. That you have mined in, you have other places that you are mining, and then you have left a few places out. Bear in mind that currently there's all this carbon trading that you can do. So there are benefits that you get from leaving the forest the way it ought to be done. Bear in mind also that a lot of our water bodies, they take their sources from these forest reserves. So once you start going into those forest reserves and dealing with them, you are unable to restore them. Let the government show us examples of any of these forest reserves that we have mined out of them. That's one, that the people in those places are better off than they were before we started mining. Then two, the issues of the challenges with our water bodies, the issues with the fact that currently as we speak, you go into some of these places that mining is taking place. And most of the time, illegal mining follows it. You find out that, the incidence of kidney diseases are on the rise. The level of deformation of children that have been born. So when you look at the cost to us as a country, it is important that we put a halt to this. And if even we're going to do it, then we need to have very clear strategies in place.
Okay.
That shows us that we will be able to mine, restore these places back to the positions that they were. And not only that, make sure that the people around that, and even us as a country, will be better off than it.
All right.
Samson, we've been doing all of this mining. Look at where we are currently with our economy. We have to go back to the island.
Thank you, Dr. Kenneth Ashigbey.